Hi friends, welcome to my video. Today I'm sharing a what I ate in a day video, or what we ate in a day, I should say. We are continuing to practice social distancing most of the time, so I'm just going to show you breakfast, lunch, and dinner at home because we are eating most of our meals at home. Let's get started. On this particular morning, I prepared Moong dal Cheele. These are savory pancakes or crepes made out of the mung bean. Now, I usually make it with mung beans that still have the skin on the outside, which are called sabut moong dal, but I ran out of that. I have not replenished my stock, so I've been making these out of the, I think it's called the chilke wali moong dal, which is the one that doesn't contain the skin. You see, I've already soaked the mung beans. I've also soaked some Kaala Channa for lunch, but I'm going to put that away for now and just focus on the Cheele. So I have about a cup here. That makes quite a bit, so I'm going to be making some extra for another morning later in the week. To a blender, I am adding the moong dal, and along with the moong dal, I'm going to be adding a few other things to pack in some flavor, a bit of green chili, which is optional, some ginger, and a clove of garlic. And this does require a little bit of water for grinding. That's about 1/3 cup. All the measurements are below, by the way. And I'm grinding this to a smooth paste. I'm checking the consistency here, and I've decided that I could add a little more water, but I'm trying to do that as conservatively as possible. Next, I'm going to add a bit of salt, haldi, jeera, just a couple of things to, again, add some flavor into these Cheele because they are quite simple on their own. Quite happy with the consistency here. It's a smooth batter, but it's not too runny. We're going to go ahead and make these Cheele on a non-stick tawa or skillet. And although I am using a non-stick tawa, I'm still going to brush a little bit of oil on the bottom just for easy removal and flipping of my Cheele when it gets to that point. In shaping them, I do try to make them as round as possible. Sometimes they're a little oblong, or there might be one end that's not quite perfectly round. That's okay, flavor is king. When it comes to thickness, I like to make these no thicker than 5 millimeters, so 1/2 centimeter. And in terms of diameter, probably no more than 13 to 15 centimeters. When Mummy makes these, that's my mother-in-law, she serves them rolled up with a mixture of spiced paneer and green peas inside, but we mostly have ours plain with chutney. Here's a little update, by the way. This is Nougat. He is 9 weeks old here, but he's actually already been adopted. If you would like to see how he and his family were rescued, you can check out the video that's linked in the cards. Back to the Cheele, I am serving them with dhania chutney, which is linked below. Even though it's a very old video, the method hasn't really changed. And when it comes to this variety of Cheele, though I don't make it often, I think I actually prefer this soft and springy texture. For lunch on this day, I prepared Kaala Channa. Kaala Channa are the black chickpeas. They are not the Kabuli chana, that Afghani chana, or just the typical chickpea that you make hummus from. This is a very different type of chickpea, and I had never seen it in my life until I got married, moved to India for a hot minute, and Mummy cooked it one day when we were staying in Ambala. It's usually served with rice, could be plain rice or jeera rice. Now, a word about the rice. I have a video about this if you need to know how to prepare basmati rice. I'm going to say correctly, so please check that out if you need to. And before getting back to the Kaala Channa, we ate a lot of grapes on this day. I'm showing you since it's a what I ate in a day video. Our breakfast was fairly light that morning, and Pranav works from home, so usually around 11 o'clock or so, I'll wash some fruit, cut it up, take him a serving. I'll sit down and binge a serving of fruit in the middle of the morning as well. That's Albus, by the way. She was a later addition to our litter. She's 7.5 weeks old in this video, but she's a bit older now. And coming back to this Kaala Channa, we are going to make it in our pressure cooker. I'm using, I would say, the basics to create the curry. The typical stuff: onion, garlic, ginger, some tomato. I'm using canned tomato, but fresh tomato would be great. I just had an open can that I wanted to finish. And to create this gravy, it's a very light gravy. It's called a tari. I'm trying to cut up everything or mince everything as finely as possible. So to start off, the oil and the cumin go into the pressure cooker over like medium-high heat. And then once that starts to crackle, just add the finely chopped onion, minced garlic, and just cook it until some of the raw flavor goes away. Next comes the tomato. Because I'm using canned tomato, I have about 1/3 of a cup here. That's probably the equivalent of like a large tomato or maybe a couple of small tomatoes. Then in goes the ginger. We're going to combine all of this and let it cook for a couple minutes before adding some additional spices. Now, one of the spices is hing or asafoetida. It has a very unique smell if you've never smelt it before. Mine has to be ground finely a little bit in my mortar and pestle. And then we're also going to add a bit of haldi or turmeric and some red chili powder. This is Kashmiri chili. You could add any type of red chili powder that you have, and that would work just fine. Then in goes the soaked Kaala Channa, and this chana has been soaking overnight. You need to soak it overnight. And then you're adding 2.5 times as much water and a bit of salt. I cannot stress enough how important it is for you to soak that chana overnight. It needs to soak for 8 to 10 hours. Kaala Channa has a very tough skin. This is not the type of chickpea that you can just eat on a whim. You really need to soak it in advance. Now, while that's cooking, I'm just going to make a little bit of cucumber raita on the side. I have some plain yogurt, a little bit of water, trying to get a nice smooth consistency. Sometimes there are no shortcuts. You really just got to use a whisk or something. Once I have a smooth consistency, I'm going to add a couple of spices to this raita. Nothing fancy, just the typical stuff, a bit of chaat masala, some kala namak or black salt. I just love this package. It says Billy, which means cat in Hindi, not the English name Billy, and there's a cat on the package because it's Billy. Anyway, I also really just enjoy cat humor. So I've added that, I've added some roasted cumin, and that's it. That's all that goes into this raita in terms of spices. And because this is cucumber raita, of course, I'm grating about 1/4 of an English cucumber into this raita. I would have preferred a field cucumber, which is closer to the variety that we have in India, but this is what I had on hand. And this little sprinkling of Kashmiri lal mirch is not flavoring the raita in any way. It's more decorative than anything. So 8 or 9 or maybe even 10 whistles later, this is what the chana looks like. As you can see, the gravy itself is pretty light. That's what's called a tari. It's a lighter form of gravy. If you want to mash some of the chana, you can do that, but I don't typically do that too much. Now, a little bit of garam masala at the very end just elevates this, and it's done. It's ready to be served. I really like it with just plain basmati. I prefer not to have jeera rice with this. And the raita, this is like a really, I would say, classic combination. You can't go wrong with rice, a curry, and some raita. I've always been rather intimidated to make Kaala Channa up until I actually made it. I assumed that it was very difficult, but that's simply not the case. The only thing you really need is sufficient time for soaking your chana. The spices are not difficult to find or exotic. If your pantry, your Indian pantry, is well stocked, even just with the basics, you have everything you need to make this.
Really, really good. Like my mom's.
Oh, that's really nice.
So I just love it.
Beautiful. You said it's like mummy's.
It's so bright and
That's like the highest compliment.
So much flavor in it. Love it.
Mummy would say, what would she say? 100 में से 100
you got 110 points. Also, it was one of my papa's favorite curries.
Let me know in the comments below, have you seen Kaala Channa in the grocery store? Have you cooked it? Are you intimidated to cook it? Are you going to cook it now? I want to know. Since there is nothing else to do in quarantine, I have been cooking 3 meals a day almost every single day since March 13th. And I'm not complaining, but sometimes when I feel like I've spent a really long time in the kitchen, I just go for an easy fix at dinner. So on this particular evening, we had some veggie burgers. It's a new brand that I wanted to try out. It's not really labor intensive since you just grill the patties and then cut up your fixings, whatever those are. And as much as I would love to have served these with fries or wedges, but I didn't have any of those. What I did have were 2 plantains that really needed to be cooked. Even though they look brown and ugly, that's exactly how they're supposed to look when they get ripe. And these are not bananas. They're like a cousin of the banana. I simply remove the skins, cut them into strips about 1 centimeter in thickness, and you can fry these. I do prepare them in a nonstick with a bit of oil, but I wouldn't consider this frying. I just lay them out in 1 layer, season them with a little bit of salt, black pepper, and garlic powder, and I try to braise them on medium heat so they get a little crispy in some spots and then fully cooked through. The extra went into a container in the fridge. At the same time, I was toasting my burger buns, just keeping an eye on the patties to make sure that they were cooking through nicely. And every once in a while, you do need to flip over the plantain. And here you can see me desperately trying to get mustard out of 2 different containers, neither of which has enough mustard. In the end, we did have mustard enough for both of us. And I even had some in the car, although it wasn't doing me any good down there. And when it came to building the burger, I just had the basics going on. I do like to use arugula instead of lettuce. I like the bitterness of arugula or rocket. And I put some fried onion on top. I think that does kind of elevate it in terms of the texture. The plantain is really nicely cooked. It's a bit charred in some places, which is just how we like it. And even though this is not a typical burger combination, I think that both of these elements worked really well, honestly. The burger and then the sort of sweet, sticky plantain. We both enjoyed it very much. This isn't the usual patty that we buy. If you live in Canada, we usually get the PC, portobello mushroom, and Swiss cheeseburger, but this was pretty decent.
It's beautiful. Caramelized, sweet, salty. I love it.
I'm so glad.
Thank you.
In spite of that, I probably wouldn't buy this burger again because we both agreed that the PC burger is the best one.
What about you?
Oh,
It's holding its shape really well. It's flavorful. It
great.
has some nice lentils and mixed.
And brown rice too.
Yeah, I can see the rice in it.
So there you have it. Kind of a long video this week, but that is everything that we ate in a day while we continue to live mostly in lockdown in Toronto. Things are getting better. Things are opening up, but we continue to go about our lives very cautiously. I would love to hear from you in the comments below, not just about food, but how you're managing, where you are in the world, how you're going about your day-to-day life. I would love to know. And I'll see you again very soon with another video. Okay, bye.